And I'm not saying I'm against that phrase, money will come back, but experiences won't. However, you can't use that excuse to keep funding your experiences, if that makes sense. I just gotta show off the outfit. Look at this. I live in fucking Florida. I am never going to wear this, but isn't this dope? Wait. In the back? Avocado. Hello. Welcome to Post-Pod episode 6. I am Kate. I am your host. This is my second video on YouTube, which kind of sounds surreal. And also, oh my gosh, guys, I'm on Spotify now. Kind of crazy how easy it was to make a Spotify podcast channel. But hey, it only took 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, let me grab this. I just don't know what to say when I don't have my laptop, and then I just start rambling, and y'all don't want that because this would be a long episode. So, summer is coming up, and that basically means we're all ready to travel, we're all ready to take a break, we all want to get away from our normal lives. However, we cannot do that unless we are being a little money conscious, a little bit more considerate with how we're spending our money. So that's why Post-Pod episode 6 is called Girl Math into Saving Your Money. This episode is just going to be some tips and tricks I've slowly gotten used to over the years to help me save money. These tips that I'm going to share are going to be more like ways you can see fast results with saving and the way you spend. Just a disclaimer, of course, these are tips and tricks that I've incorporated in my life that have helped me be more money conscious with the way I spend. So if it doesn't work for you, it's okay. Anyways, let's get into this episode because I have a lot of things I want to talk to you guys about. So first on my list, we have mindset shift. I know my last episode was called Mind Shift over Life Shift. And I think just setting a mind shift can totally change the way you approach a situation. And the first thing I have under mindset shift is you need to realize that all those people that are saying money will always come back, but experiences won't. I'm pretty sure someone trying to make money made that phrase. And I'm not saying I'm against that phrase, money will come back, but experiences won't. However, you can't use that excuse to keep funding your experiences, if that makes sense. I have been guilty of using that quote to literally validate all the spending I'd done, especially in my first year post-grad, because I was like, oh, I have so much money. I'm so young. I need to do everything. No. I don't know how else to word it, but you cannot keep using the quotes you see on TikTok and Instagram to validate your actions. Don't get me wrong, I really like that phrase. Money will come back, but experiences won't. Because it's just a reminder to you to obviously take on the experiences you want to take on. However, you can't fully enjoy these experiences if you are subconsciously thinking in the back of my head like, holy shit, after I do this, I'm gonna be in so much debt, I have to work overtime, blah blah blah. Like, no, don't let that ruin your experience. So people have that saying to validate their spending, but why not have a saying that validates you saving? So for me, that statement is, for example, let's say I want to get boba. My biggest phrase that I say before I want to spend something that I don't really need, or it's more like a temptation for me to buy, is, would I rather have boba here or in New York? So that's a very specific example. It's me validating why I should save rather than spend. So me personally, I would always rather choose to have that experience somewhere else rather than in an environment that I tend to experience daily. A lot of people are quick to validate why they are spending, but why not be quick on why you should be saving? And I think that's kind of what we're seeing a lot on TikTok and social media is, you deserve it. Spend the money. You deserve it. Buy the sweet treat. And yeah, I'm not saying you don't deserve it, but why can't you reward yourself by saving that money for a time where that money could be used a little bit more consciously. One way you think can be translated into another way to think to help you change your mindset. So like I said, you guys are quick to validate why you should spend. Why can't you be quick to validate why you should save? And just taking that 2 minutes before you swipe your card to be like, do I really need this? Where else can this money be spent? Can really, hopefully, make you guys a little bit more conscious of how you're spending your money. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of impulse spending and buying things on a whim. I'm actually going through retail therapy right now. Like, I just bought a rug, I bought a new camera, I bought new clothes. And yeah, like, I'm obviously guilty of it too, but hearing someone say to change your mind shift on how you spend your money may seem overwhelming, but if you realize you just have to twist the way you think, maybe that'll change the way that your habits are. Still going on with the mindset shift, another thing that I've been guilty of saying when I buy things is I can always sell it or I can always return it, especially when it comes to concert tickets and festivals. I'm actually going through this right now. If you guys cannot tell by the amount of people I've asked, I bought Blackpink tickets for both the Chicago and New York tour because I was like, I don't know which date I want to go to, which city I want to go to, but I can sell it. It's Blackpink. Y'all, I am struggling to sell Blackpink New York tickets, and it is 2025. And they are not nosebleeds. So why am I struggling? And I think that was just like a lesson learned action for me. And that, like me going through that, me personally, I learned through going through the action and making the mistakes. So this is just obviously a lesson learned for me. But shoot, now I bought those tickets. I am down the whole 500 because I couldn't figure out if I wanted to go to the New York or Chicago tickets. So I was like, F it, let me buy both. Okay, moving on. I have a lot under mindset shift, so I'll just go through these quick because I feel like I've been on this topic for a while. Another question to ask before you spend is, am I buying this because it's making me feel a certain way? So this is more for impulse buy. A lot of people tend to impulse buy because in the moment that item gives them a certain feeling. But then when you get home, does that item still give you that same feeling? Obviously, it depends on the item. It depends on how it makes you feel. But for example, like that happens to me a lot with clothes. And I'll buy an item, I'll try it on, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And then I'll buy it because I loved it so much. But then when I get home, I'm like, oh wow, I really can't find anything to wear with this. It doesn't really coordinate with the things I already have. And then it just sits in my closet until I feel like wearing it. So that's just an example to not act on the feelings of what buying that item will give you, but rather maybe sit it out, wait for your emotions to chill, and if you really want that item, to go ahead and buy it after you've like chilled on your emotions. Last thing on this mindset shift before we move on to the next. So this was probably something I saw in a video. I don't remember if someone told me this. But basically, if you're going to buy a big ticket item, or honestly, you can do this with any item. Let's say, for example, you're about to spend $400 on a really nice bag. What you're going to do is take how much you're about to spend, so $400, divide it by your hourly wage. Let's say your hourly wage is $20, just to make it easier for me to math it. And ask yourself, is it worth the X amount of hours for me to break even? So let's do that. 400 divided by 20, which is 20 hours. Yes, 20 hours. Is it worth the 20 hours you worked or will have to work in order to break even to buy this bag? And then that's it. Whether you say yes or no is up to you, and that's how you want to spend your money. But just realizing the effort it took for you to break even in order to spend how much you're about to spend just, again, grounds you into realizing how much you're about to spend. One thing that transitioning from a minimum wage job to a full-time job is you're going to think you're rich. No matter how much you make once you go from a minimum wage job to a full-time job, you're going to think you're rich because all of a sudden you're getting way more than you were getting before. And that's a post-grad mindset that a lot of people go into, and I am guilty of going into that mindset. And you're gonna be like, oh, I'll make it the next paycheck, like it's fine, like I'm gonna make money anyways, I work a full-time job. But we're kind of at that point where you need to realize the economy is shit right now, and a lot of layoffs are going on, so you cannot always say next paycheck will cover it. That was a lot to talk about for mindset shift, which is fine, because hopefully, if you take anything from this video and you want to save money, I hope it's you change your mindset. Because I think changing your mindset will be the most effective out of all of these tips and tricks that I'm going to tell you. Okay, next on my list, we have stop the fucking impulse buy. So to stop impulse buying, what you need to do is throw your credit cards away. Let's actually look up what impulse buy means. Impulse buy is the buying of goods without planning to do so in advance as a result of a sudden whim or impulse. I impulse buy probably I'll tell you guys, since I'm so frugal with my money, it's like only once a month. I will all of a sudden spend maybe like $100+ on like things that I actually need, but like are things I actually don't need either. So for example, like a rug, I just bought a rug, and I don't really need a rug, but it's also something that a lot of people tend to have in their houses, and I have hardwood floors. That's how I am when it comes to impulse buying. I've trained my mind. Impulse buy means just me buying things I actually need, but I'm just don't want to spend my money on. And I think that's all you need to know to realize that I am a frugal person. But one way to prevent yourself from impulse buying is to make a wish list. For me, my wish list is more of a wait list almost. So whenever I do my budget tracker and my spending tracker, and I realize, I do have a little extra money that I can spend towards something I may want, that's when I'll go to my wish list and I'll look through my list and I'll be like, I still want that item, and then I'll buy it. And then also during that time, I'll take out any items that I was like, I don't actually need that item. So having a wish list just makes you kind of put that item on hold and makes you realize if you really need it or not. My wish list is just in my Apple Notes, and I've gotten to the point where I'll actually link the item, like go to the website, go to the store's website and copy and paste the link of the actual product into my notes, so that whenever I'm kind of like shopping and ready to buy something, I'll just click the link and I can directly see if it's on sale or if it's no longer available. So the past two things I listed, the mindset shift and the stop impulse buying, those are kind of ways you have to actually alter your ways of spending and saving. But I'm going to now talk about things you can do to add to the way that you save and spend. So the number one thing you need to be doing, and I hope you guys are already doing, is having direct transactions into your savings account. If you have that direct transaction, you don't see the money, you're not going to spend the money. So me personally, I have a savings account with Ally Banking, and I just opened that, I want to say 2022, because I remember I had like a regular savings account with my checking bank, and they were like, oh my gosh, you have a lot in savings, you should move that into a high yield savings account. I don't want to get too much into savings account, but in short, a high yield savings account is a savings account that makes more interest than a regular savings account. So rather than just getting cents every quarter, you're getting like maybe $40 a quarter, depending on how much you have in your savings. That's something that you can easily do like a TikTok search on to figure out what savings account you need, which bank to open a savings account with, things like that. We're literally only halfway through my list of things. Shit. Next on my list, this kind of goes with the last one, which was direct transactions into a savings account. But this one is setting up a saving account specifically for your trips or any financial goals you have. So for example, I have a lot of trips coming up this summer, and in Ally Banking specifically, you can create a bucket within your savings account. So you can put money, so you have your savings account, And then you have buckets within that savings account so that you can say, okay, this amount of my savings is going to go towards this trip. This amount of savings is going to go towards my emergency, blah, blah, blah. It's really nice. And the great thing is you can, again, have direct transactions into those buckets and you don't have to think about it. So, for example, I have a trip coming up in the summer and I think I'm putting like $50 every week into that savings account just so I can reach that goal of paying off my flights, the hotels, and anything I'm going to do in that trip. And doing this, make sure that you are net positive after your trip. Now let's talk about some like miscellaneous things that you can incorporate into your spending habits to kind of, I guess, help you save money. If you haven't realized by this point in this episode how frugal I am as a person, the next thing I am about to say is going to make you be like, shit, she is a fucking cheapster. So eating out. I actually don't like eating out. And that's not because I'm a picky person. It's literally because I don't like spending money eating out. I actually think to a point it could be a waste of money depending on why you're eating out. Obviously, I'm not like anti-eating out. Like, I love eating. But if I have food at home, I'm not going to spend $30 for myself to eat when I have food at home made out of groceries worth of $30. After saying that, you guys are probably wondering, okay, but what about like when you eat out with friends or like whenever there's a get together at a restaurant, like how do you, like, you can't say no to that, right? And yeah, of course, you're not going to say no to that. However, this is an ultimate cheapster hack. Rather than spending $30 on a whole meal, maybe eat at home before you go to the restaurant and spend only like $15 on an appetizer, including the tip. She is cheap. She is cheap, let me tell you that. I'm not saying I do this all the time. Like, of course, if there's a restaurant I haven't tried, I'm, of course, going to fully eat the menu. But if it's like we're getting food just so we can catch up, I'm not going to spend $30. I'm sorry. Another thing you can start doing is having a spending tracker. You physically putting every transaction into a spending tracker humbles you. Let me tell you that. I've been using a spending tracker since I think 2018. So when I first started working, like I got my first job back in high school, and having that spending tracker also makes me realize whether I'm net positive or net negative for the month. I've been using the same spending tracker since I started working, and I've slowly made it even better. So if you guys want me to share that template, let me know. I should probably monetize it so that I can make money out of it. But no, I'm not going to do that. Speaking of monetizing things, let's talk about some side hustles you guys can do to make some income. The ones I'm going to list are things that I've done to make some money, and this is fast. Sorry, I had to change the battery real quick. So on the top of my list of things that can help you save money and also maybe even gain some money is taking advantage of store apps and collecting points or any business rewards or things like that. And usually it's free. For example, like McDonald's, downloading the app is free, but you can save so much money using the McDonald's app because they have so many rewards. Like I know on Fridays they offer like free fries with a purchase of $1 or more. Probably the first thing that comes to mind about using coupons is social anxiety. And shit, y'all just need to get over it, because I am the type of person to be like, wait, let me see if there's a coupon for this. If it takes me 2 minutes to load a coupon that'll save me $5, the first app that comes to mind that helps me save a lot of money is the Target Circle app. This app is designed so nicely. It makes it so easy to find coupons because all you have to do is actually scan the tag and it'll tell you if it's on sale and any coupons associated with it. And then automatically the coupons will link to your wallet. And then when you go to checkout, you just put in your phone number or scan your Target app, and then the coupon will apply. Another thing that I've been using since probably 2020 is the Ibotta app. So Ibotta is a rebate app. This app basically asks you to scan your receipt, and any rebates that they have for any items that you guys purchase, you can actually get money for that. So sometimes you can get 50 cents just for submitting a receipt. And I know that's like, oh, it's just 50 cents. But let me tell you guys, I have gotten probably around $40 just from this app. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's just $40. Like, that's not a lot. But all I did to get that $40 was scan a bunch of receipts. So I don't, like, there's so many ways you can make more than $40, obviously, but if all I had to do was scan the receipt and I got $40, like, crazy. This is the last thing I have on my list is monetizing a hobby. This is definitely dependent on who you are as a person. I know a lot of people, when they monetize a hobby, it can be overwhelming because all of a sudden that hobby doesn't feel like a hobby anymore. I recently started monetizing my hobby and I've probably gotten almost $100 from it. I sell rings. Me personally, I like having this little side hustle because it forces me to continue that hobby and to, be creative and things like that. But definitely don't try and monetize every hobby you have because it can definitely get exhausting. Okay, we're wrapping up the episode now, but probably the number one thing you guys are going to get out of this episode is that Kate is a very cheap person. But hey, if these tips and tricks worked for me, who knows, maybe it'll work for you. And I want to close this episode by saying why I became very addicted to saving my money. And it's because it was... let me share a little story. Okay, so it was 2021, and I remember it was my first time impulsively doing an impulse trip, or like a trip that I wasn't even planning on going on. And this trip was with my sisters and her friends, and it was to Lollapalooza, and I was only 19 years old. And after I took that trip, I think I spent maybe around like $700 for everything because that's when I still had a minimum paying job. I was only 19 and in college, and it was COVID times. After that trip, I told myself I am going to save my money so I can go back on any trip and spend as much as I want. And me personally, I would rather heavily budget my everyday life rather than to heavily budget a trip that I'm only going to take once in my life. And for some of you guys, that may resonate with you. Some of you guys, you may think differently, and that's okay. But me personally, when I travel, I don't hold back on spending because who knows if I'll ever get to go through that experience again. Who knows if I'll ever get to be in that little store in New York again. And that's why I am so cheap when it comes to my everyday life, because I find so much value. I don't know if value is the right word. I find so much... I don't know what word to use. I find so much, I don't know, fill in the blank. I find so much blank when it comes to experiences in an environment that I am learning about, rather than an environment that I've grown to live in. I hope this episode taught you to girl math your way into saving your money. If not, you learned that I am a very frugal person. And yeah, so I'll see you guys at the next episode.